And with that, Megan Adams.
Hello, thank you for having me. So good evening, members of the Public Health and Children's Committee. Thank you for this opportunity to testify on SB2. I am Megan Adams. I'm the Executive Director of Bristol Child Development Center. We've been in business since 1971. We are a NIAC accredited state subsidized program that currently offers care to over 200 families. Additionally, I am the co-president of the Connecticut Association for the Education of Young Children. I'm elated that SB2 calls for additional funding for programs through the Office of Early Childhood. These investments in the early care and education system cannot come soon enough. Centers across the state are amid a fundamental staffing and wage crisis, and many programs are on the brink of collapse. This collapse of the early childhood sector would mean a few things. First, families would be unable to work because of the lack of care, teachers will be out of their jobs, and children are going to lose out on essential educational opportunities, which would ultimately help them in their social emotional development, leading us towards a lower need for early intervention. So because our funding comes through the state of the Office of Early Childhood, we cannot adjust our tuition to help increase revenue. We are a flat funded program and soon to be possibly operating in the red. So this past year, we've talked about, everything going on today, but my center alone lost 12 teachers this past year, all of which left to work for higher wages. 6 of those staff went to Board of Educations as paraprofessionals because the rate of pay is much higher and the responsibility of the job is far less. Our field is on the verge of being depleted, and our staff who once were recognized as champions are finding it hard to stay in careers that they love with little to no return on the time and effort they put in. It should be noted that early childhood educators have one of the most important and influential positions in a child's life between the ages of infancy right up to kindergarten. They're required to meet specific educational requirements and then continue to push them. We continue to push them to continue their education and improve on their practice. It's tragically ironic that the teachers who take out student loans to pursue higher education to better prepare themselves as educators are then forced to leave this field because they cannot financially survive or pay back their loans. In short, early childhood educators cannot afford to be teachers. And the unfortunate part is that this issue is not at the fault of the child care centers. Many, if not most, are struggling to remain open due to the complete lack of funding and are faced with staff shortages that span beyond a few hires. So centers at this point in time are being asked to compromise their expectations of quality since they cannot afford to pay those who are qualified. And what does that mean for our children? The children whose lives are most influenced during these years. As we mentioned earlier, we are an economic necessity so that parents can have quality care while they work. If there were no childcare centers available for families, our economy would essentially collapse. As it is, we've started to force women back out of the workforce to stay home and care for their children because we cannot find teachers to open classrooms, and that's because we cannot pay them what they deserve. At this moment, I do have one classroom that has a wait list of families, but has been closed since August because I can't find staff to open the room.
Excuse me, Miss Adams, but your time is almost up. Thank you.
Of course. So you've heard a lot today about the rate of pay you've heard a lot today about the rate of pay that we receive for subsidized slots, and then that minimum wage is going to be going up to $15 an hour. So I just want you to think about, that in the last 7 years, school readiness and child daycare slots have not received an increase at all, but minimum wage has gone up almost $5 an hour. We're receiving about 50% of what it costs to run a high quality classroom. Our staff are struggling, morale is down, and no one is entering our field. So without the appropriate funding, I foresee a very dim and depressing future for the early childhood field and the educators, as we'll be forced to make budgetary decisions that will begin to jeopardize quality. So we are begging you to please invest the $700 million down payment in the childcare system so that families can enroll their children in quality care. We can pay our educators what they deserve and keep our economy moving in the right direction. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. I just want